Hello, Jag. Peep the shirt.
Hey, oh my God. Hi, how are you doing? I love the shirt. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Welcome
much.
to the Conspire White Bitches podcast.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. How are you doing?
Doing good. So I'm so pumped to have you on. I was Team Jag all season long in the trenches when you got evicted, came back, cheering you on into your victory. My most important question is you made history as the first sick house guest to not only play the game of Big Brother, but also win the game of Big Brother. Let's talk about the weight of that importance of this achievement.
I mean, that was huge for me. Like coming into the game, I knew I was the first sick to ever be on the show, and that directed how I played the game a lot, and how I acted in the game because I wanted to represent myself and stay true to who I am, and also represent my community in a positive light. I never wanted to do anything that could reflect poorly on my community, and so being true to who I am, playing the game where I stayed loyal and the person that I stayed loyal to was Matt and took him to the very end. And all of those pieces were important to me. And so um, being the first winner, first sick winner is huge for me. I mean that like I'm on top of the world. Like even when I think about that, because I never thought I could get that far. Like I believed in myself, but I'm never someone who gets cocky or has an ego or like, oh, I got this in the bag. And even sitting in the final two next to Matt, I never thought I had it in the bag. But I'm just so grateful and so blessed about how everything worked out.
So you talked about your loyalty. I have to know, were you ever seriously considering taking Bowie Jane with you to the final two?
Like I'm someone that I'm sure you've seen. Like I will analyze everything about every option. Even if I'm not going to do it, I want to make sure that that is the route I should not take. And so it was no different with this decision. Ultimately, I knew that I wanted to do the right thing, and the right thing for me was to take Matt. That's how I felt because I thought I had given him my loyalty. He had given me his loyalty, and to turn my back on him just felt wrong. There was no amount of game that I or anyone else could convince me into where I was not going to take him, because ultimately I knew if I didn't sit next to him, maybe my odds could be better, but it was just the wrong move. And I wanted to make a decision I would be proud of, and my family would be proud of, and my community would be proud of, and all my supporters and loved ones would be proud of. And that's the decision I made.
So let's talk about this speech. It was fiery, it was passionate. And I would also kind of say that we didn't see much of that side of you in the house because you always came off as pretty reserved in the house. Was it that you were holding back during the season, or were you stepping up to the opportunity in the moment of making the speech?
Yeah, no, I definitely, that was a moment where throughout the house, I had to fight for my life. And that speech was my last time to fight for my life again. Like, I didn't know what the jury was thinking at all, or how votes would go. And that was my moment to advocate for myself, which I vouched for so much in the house with other house guests too. It's like, you should always advocate for yourself. You should always stand up for yourself. So that speech was me owning up to my game and standing up for myself, stepping up to the plate and saying like, "Hey, this is who I am," and I was passionate about it. I know I was, but that's just who I am, and I wasn't gonna not stand up for myself in that moment.
And it was kind of a risk because if it would have landed on the wrong ears, it could have rubbed people the wrong way. Were you worried about that going in?
Like I knew that was a risk for of giving that speech, but I also knew like, look, if people are bitter and they're not gonna vote for me, then they're bitter and they're not gonna vote for me. But I knew that I had to give a speech that was powerful, and I was so passionate about everything that I said, because I knew going in, like, the point of a speech is not to give a lab report, right? It's to have some emotion evoked from who I'm giving the speech to, and so that's why I gave it the way I gave it. I know it was punchy. I know I had these crazy lines in there, but that was the point of the speech. It's like I wanted them to at least consider, like, wait a second, if they weren't going to vote for me before that, like, he just said some things, and he said it like in a very passionate way, but he wasn't lying, and like maybe we should consider voting for him. So that, yeah, that's why I gave the speech I gave.
So let's talk about how you're in the house for 100 days, which is honestly about 30 days too long, I think. Let's talk about the psychology changes while you're in the house. It started getting a little Stanford prison experimenty towards the end. And we have to talk about the Operation Pressure Cracker that you, Matt, and Bowie were planning on, planning on doing against Suri and Felicia. What was the strategy there? What was the goal?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we talked about. It was never, that's not ever something I was going to go through with. And I fully don't think Matt or Bowie were ever going to go through with. We were never going to, keep Felicia up at night with pots and, like we made jokes about it. And I fully own up to that's not even something that we should have made jokes about. Like there are some things that do cross a line. And what I feel so grateful for is my support system, and they're so loving, and they also hold me accountable, and make me a better man every day. And I've talked to them about this as well, and fully owned up to it, fully see why that is something that, even as a joke, even if I wasn't going to do it, is something that shouldn't have been mentioned. And I even had a conversation with Felicia in the house where she mentioned feeling isolated, and that's the moment at which I realized, like, look, in this game, I've never wanted to isolate anyone. Like game and personal are so separate for me. And on a personal level, I care about everyone so, so much. And, after that conversation, even with Felicia, I owned up to that and said, look, my intent was never to isolate you, but I will honor the impact that it's had on you. And, I even talked to Matt and Bowie afterwards and said, look, this is how Felicia is feeling, and we really need to include her more. And do a better job to make sure that she doesn't feel this way again, because that's not who we are, and that's not who I am, and it's not a representation of who I am. It's not who I want to be. And so yeah.
So also while you were in the house, you did, we heard the word like bully thrown around a lot. You called some of the house guests bullies. You said that some of the evictions were, you're like, I'm doing this because they did this to me, blah, blah, blah. Do you still think they're bullies?
No. Okay. In no way is anyone actually a bully at all. I love everyone to death. No one's a bad person. No one is a bully. Again, like I just mentioned, game and personal are so separate. On a personal level, nobody was bullying me. And I want to make that very clear. But on a game level, like people get excluded. So purely on a game level, it was like, I felt excluded. I was in an alliance. I was like, is this even real? And so I felt like, a weird way about that. But that's all game. You have to play the game where like you are aligned with certain people and working with them, and you're not aligned with other people. And so it was a matter of that purely game. Nobody at all is a bully. Like everyone is such a good person. I have such beautiful friendships with everyone in the house. And I'm so blessed about that too. So at no point do I want anyone thinking like, oh, like people like actually bullied Jag, because that is not the case.
So there's a conspiracy that we need to solve here on the Conspire Why Bitches podcast. And I don't know if you've heard it yet, but have you heard the conspiracy that you're actually worth $5 million?
I heard about that, and I wish that were true. Like what? Like I want to make that happen, but that is absolutely not a case, the real case at all. Like I heard about it like pretty soon after I left the house, and I was like, where did we get this from?
You're like, check my bank account right now.
Yeah, I was like, that's last time I checked, I'm broke. So that's not
well,
true.
no, not anymore. You're $750,000 richer.
Okay, thank you. Yes, not anymore, but I'm still far from that that net worth that everyone is conspiring about.
And then also, Andrew on Cameo.
I did get a cameo, yes.
And also, I saw that you're charging $100 a cameo, which is a pretty controversial price. What do you have to say about the criticisms there?
I mean, I don't know what the criticisms are. Right now, I just set a price because I'm so busy with everything in my life and I also don't know, what's happening. I'm catching up on everything that even for me to like step away and like do that, it takes away a lot of time. I literally just want to hang out with my family right now and with my friends. And I'm like, I just set a price. It's I barely got out here. It's not even been.
I say get your bag. And Dr. Will charged $1,000 a cameo at one time too. So
Wow, that's
Crazy.
great.
So
That's
great
wild.
news.
That's funny. Yeah, I might have to charge a thousand with Dr. Will. No, I mean it's all. I'm just kidding. I mean, yeah, I'm just super happy about like all of the like overwhelmingly positive support that I've gotten from people. Like that's something I'm so grateful for. And that's been such an awesome part about like being outside the house.
All right. And last question, what's next for you?
I'm still figuring that out. And I wish I had a better answer for you, and I wish I actually had a better answer for me as well. That's something I'm still trying to see what that looks like. Something that is important to me is Sikh representation, and so I don't know exactly how that looks, but the journey definitely still continues. It doesn't stop here. It's not that just because I went on Big Brother and won Big Brother, cool. Like that's all the amplification that we need of Sikh voices. Like we definitely need a lot more, and I'm gonna do everything I can to use my platform to continue that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on the Conspire Bitches podcast. Go Jag.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Love you. Take care.
Bye.